is high, breathing fire, his head in the sky. Godzilla, Godzilla, Godzilla.
Hi, this is Jack. We're here to talk about one of my favorite films of all time, 1962's King Kong Meets Godzilla. Now, this is the American version. My boss and friend Ryan.
Hello, hello.
What did you think of Godzilla Kong Go to WrestleMania? Godzilla meets Kong, or King Kong meets Godzilla. Oops, sorry.
It's definitely a watch. It was an interesting collaboration between the two. You have a new iteration of King Kong. He doesn't look anything like he does in the first film. Godzilla with his new look. He finally has the little lights on his plates whenever he uses his gamma flamethrower. That's pretty cool. I like to see that.
This film has a lot more comedy in it than either of the original Godzilla films. A lot more comedy than King Kong's two movies, Kong or Son of Kong. Mm-hmm. The guy who plays Mr. Taco was known as like the Charlie Chaplin of Japan. Thought he was hilarious in this movie in many places. His facial expressions, when he thought he blew up Kong, and then he only opens up one eye and then opens up the other, and he has that shocked look. You're right, they were experimenting with a lot of things. You have suitmation in here like you would have before, but you also have a claymation scene. When Godzilla does the kung fu kick into Kong's chest and sends him into the rocks, that is claymation.
That's, I guess, an unexpected move from Godzilla. Especially in this time. You don't expect them to use stuff like that in a kaiju movie. Especially for something so complicated like Godzilla. Because he has a lot of different details stuff. That's really cool.
This reminded me of a WWE wrestling match in the sense that they did a lot of wild things. Kong shoved a tree into Godzilla's mouth. Godzilla used his tail multiple times to trip Kong up or smack him upside the head. And then Kong, when he got super energized, grabbed Godzilla's tail and swung him around in an airplane spin and basically threw him. This fight was much more brutal in the sense of the kind of things they did to each other than any of the fights in the previous films. But it was also a lot more fun. What did you think of the battle itself?
So we have two interactions with them. The first one, Kong gets hit by the gamma fire and he sits there staring at it, and the first time, and then the second time it flies at him again. He's like, alright, yeah, I'm good, I'll be back. And then he just leaves. He scratches his head and walks away. He realizes, yeah, maybe this is not worth it. It's 1-0 for Godzilla. On the second interaction between them, they get a lot more active. They get a lot more ready to throw down. I definitely wouldn't say it's the like the most brutal or like the most how was it you said like this.
When I meant brutal, I meant they did things to each other. Now it wasn't as killer as some. Like Godzilla didn't bite him in the neck like he did Anguirus, and Kong didn't break Godzilla's jaws until like foam came out like he did the T-Rex.
Yeah,
but
I mean, and
they pulled all kinds of wild moves on each other is what I mean.
Yeah, so they did more like out of the ordinary stuff, and that's expected, especially when you have kaiju that's as smart as Godzilla. He uses the stuff around him to his advantage. That's what he's got to be known. So that's pretty cool.
What did you think about Kong winning the fight? A lot of people complain about that. I personally think that if Kong doesn't win the fight, then Godzilla goes back and destroys Tokyo, so you pretty much have no choice but for Kong to win the fight and go back to Faroe Island.
I guess it could work. I believe at the end of this, Kong kind of pushes Zilla into the water. Godzilla is from the water. You can't expect him to just be gone. He's gonna come back.
Godzilla is clearly the loser, otherwise he would have showed up and come after Kong.
Yeah.
You'll see in the next movie what Kong did to him.
Okay.
It's an ending that has to happen unless you want Tokyo destroyed, but it's also, it makes sense with the new superpower Kong got.
I can see that, yeah.
There are other things in this film that make it just brilliant to me. The metal thread that the boyfriend invents allows them to carry a drunken Kong on balloons to Mount Fuji and drop him on Godzilla.
Yeah.
To start the fight. I think this is just a fantastic scene.
They mentioned it earlier and that it's stronger than steel and it's extremely thin. Like one of them sees it and he goes, oh, it's just thread. But yeah, the way they can use it and the way they mentioned it earlier fire and then use it. It's pretty genius, especially with how many balloons they had. If you were to use actual steel wire, steel chains or something like that, it's gonna weigh down the balloons. It's not gonna work.
Right, it's going to be much heavier. That's why this super Kirby tech string had to be invented for the movie.
Yeah.
You could tell that the brother and the boyfriend had issues, right?
Yeah.
Brother looked down on the boyfriend, but now he's invented this thing that's going to make him rich.
Mm-hmm.
He also saves the sister from a drunken Kong's unconscious hand.
Yeah.
You can see character development here, like we see often in the Fantastic Four stories. There's legitimate development of this character.
Yeah.
The human characters in here are some of the most fun that we've seen up to this point. I liked Raymond Burr's character. I love Robert Armstrong's character in Kong, Carl Denham. We had Kodo, the Don Knotts looking sailor, my favorite guy, Mr. Taco. But then you had the two, I call them the Hope and Crosby guys, that get sent to Faroe Island.
Yeah.
I thought they were a funny team together. What did you think of the human characters in this particular film?
I thought they were a lot more fleshed out than what we usually see, especially in something like King Kong movies, because I remember in the first one, you really only have them giving exposition here and there. In Godzilla, you have a few more of these aspects, so I think that's where a lot of this comes in. In the last Godzilla movie, you have that one pilot who sacrifices himself.
Kobayashi.
Yeah, my favorite character in that movie. Unfortunately, he dies. You get a lot more of that aspect into this movie. Human characters are a main part of these movies because we're all people, so we want to see it from the perspective of what would we do in this situation. So you always have to have that.
The big point of this film that I think that they were trying to make is the commercialism of Japan in the 1960s. That's what the director was going for, and obviously Mr. Taco represents that. As funny as he is in the film, he is constantly wanting Kong just as an ad gimmick. Kong is not anything else to him. So he said at the beginning, the ratings on my TV show suck, it's boring, and we need somebody big. Did you pick it up then when you saw the film?
Yeah, I mean, here and there, I feel like it was kind of forced as it kept getting mentioned in spots that weren't really about it so much. I mean, that was kind of the driving force for getting Kong in the first place. Is kind of what the movie is about, right? Because if he doesn't say, hey, I want the monster to up my ratings and make me more money as promotion, then you don't have that. I mean, we see a little bit of that in what movie was it? It was
King Kong. It definitely is. Carl Denham is all about bringing back the ape specifically to put on a show in New York.
Yeah, it was there. What is it? Oh, we want the land to raise in price or something like that.
Yes, that's a Gamera film.
Okay, yeah. See, so maybe that's just like an aspect in this sort of genre, at least for the time period.
The first one is a giant octopus who goes after Kong's stash of soma berries to apparently get drunk himself. They used actually 4 octopuses to put this together, and then the director ate one at the end of the film. He said bring the other 3 back to the SeaWorld or whatever it was, their version of it, but keep that one and I'm gonna eat him.
It's terrible.
The way they moved the octopus was along hot lights. That's why the octopus moves, is because they put the thing out there and then just basically turn the lights on and it's basically hurting, so it's moving itself away. Then Kong fights this octopus. Did you like the fight with the octopus, and what did you think of this particular kaiju?
I don't feel like they needed to have real octopi in the movie or in the filming. If you're gonna go as far as to make a kaiju movie, don't use a real octopus then. They don't look as stylized as the suit. Especially if you're using them in such a bad manner while filming. It's kind of messed up. Yeah, they probably should have made another puppet that was a little more stylized, looked something like a kraken that they can control. But other than that, I mean, if you're talking just specifically about the fight, it was okay. There was not much going on other than King Kong throwing some rocks at it and then throwing it around. There was one scene where it climbs on his face, and I thought that was kind of funny.
The octopus fight to me is just basically an appetizer for the real battle coming up, but it does show Kong has an ability, and it shows the soma berries that you needed for later on, getting him to Godzilla.
Yeah.
The octopus served a purpose in the story. I think him attaching onto Kong's face is about the grossest scene in the entire movie, because you even hear this. But I thought the character itself served the purpose it needed to in the movie. The scenes of the natives throwing the spears at it looked cool because they did it with the night sky behind it.
Yeah.
I love this Godzilla suit because of the alligator-looking face. The alligator-looking face, which you could totally see from the side. Mm-hmm. From the front, it's a little thin. I love this Godzilla suit. Him being a villain, he's purely a villain here. He destroys that train, and he's going to kill the girlfriend if the boyfriend doesn't show up and pull her out of there. There's nothing really redeeming about him in here, but he looks cool. I love the fight scenes. I give him a big yay.
Yeah, I give Godzilla a yay. Like I said, I enjoyed the new suit and the new puppets. How you can see the colors on his back fins or whatever you want to call those things. I just enjoy the new look of it. I give Godzilla a yay. As for the octopus, I give it a nay because, like I said, I kind of wanted to see a more stylized Kraken, something like that. That would have been pretty cool.
More like Virus in Gamera versus Virus.
Yeah.
On Kong himself, the star of the film, I have to say the puppet looks very silly.
Yeah.
But it was perfect for when he gets drunk. Because he's drunk.
What it looks like and what it reminds me of is that ending scene from SpongeBob where they have the suits on and they're talking about, well, if it's Patrick is in a monkey suit and he's like, well, if you're in the monkey suit, then who's that? And then another monkey suit comes up and then it's an actual dude in a monkey costume. And so it kind of looked like a weird basic monkey costume rather than something that they tried to make the look scary.
Kong in 33 looks fantastic.
Yeah.
This doesn't even compare to it.
It's like they got a Sasquatch costume and said, all right, call it a day.
I put a monkey face on it.
Yeah.
I do like the way the monster is used in here.
Yeah.
I like the fact that they play off of his intelligence. He's not a complete villain. I mean, most of the damage Kong does, he does kind of unintentional.
It's more just him being as big as he is or being as just destructive in a more enclosed environment rather than actually going out to feast for blood and stuff like that. So.
And they also make a point that the reason he stays in Japan is because he wants to square off with Godzilla.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, they're natural enemies. He wants to take Godzilla down. Once Godzilla is gone, Kong just goes home. He's been mistreated, but he doesn't take his revenge. He just leaves.
Yeah.
And so I gotta give Kong a yay in this movie. I do prefer the original look to this look, but this isn't a horrible look, except when they do the puppet and not the suit. He really looks ridiculous and should only be used when he's getting drunk.
Yeah, I gotta give him a yay. I enjoyed the scenes with him, and every now and then when he would be a little more expressive, like that scene where he puts his hand on his head and he scratches it and he turns around and walks away after figuring, maybe I'm not wanting to fight him.
Also the scene when he rubs his tailbone after being dropped on Mount Fuji and sliding all the way down into Godzilla.
He gets up and scratches his butt, so just moments like that where he's a bit more expressive kind of redeem for me. But yeah, I give him a yay.
Are there any other final thoughts on this film? Did you like the film? Are you looking forward to the next one in either series, Kong or Godzilla?
Yeah, I mean, I'm wanting to see more. I definitely want to see a different costume for Kong in the next one. I want to see what changes they make to make Godzilla more menacing.
I'm going to show you the greatest thing your eyes have ever beheld. He was a king and a god in the world he knew. But now he comes to civilization, merely a captive, a show to gratify your curiosity. Ladies and gentlemen, look at Kong, the eighth wonder of the world.